This guy, by the way, has made a career of telling people where to go. Back in 1990, he had a little bit of a nudge from his dearest friend, his wife Judy. He put that talent to work. He began telling people actually where to go, and he began sharing his passion for the colorful, diverse, and inspirational American story. He launched Jim Hinckley's America, and with that platform, he has inspired people to discover America with road trips. It started with the writing of feature articles for a diverse array of publications, and then as a stint as an associate editor of the now defunct Cars and Parts magazine. For that publication, he wrote a monthly column, The Independent Thinker. He told stories of auto industry's unsung heroes, and all kinds of crazy stories, including one of Ralph Teeter, the blind inventor of cruise control. He joins us this morning, Lindsay. He joins us because he's got himself a book that is the perfect Christmas present, the perfect leave it on the coffee table and take a look at it when you have a moment of mindfulness to think about the next adventure you are going to take. Lindsay, I want you to tell Jim Hinckley, who you can find at jimhinckleysamerica.com, good morning, because he has a wonderful book out, Route 66, 100 Years. Hey, Jim, welcome to Road Gang Radio.
Good morning. How's everyone this morning?
Well, we're good now. We're better now that you're here. Thanks for making the time. This book is so fun, and like Jim said, a great Christmas present, a great gift, especially for our kind of audience who spend most of their life on the road and always looking for new roadside attractions and diners, and you do that so well here. Jim, I want to first dive in, and because you've lived and breathed Route 66 for decades, and this book literally obviously does that. And I'm so curious, when you sat down, I'm always really interested in how we, honor the past, but also step into the future and what's to come. So when you sat down to do a centennial book, to you, what felt most important to get it right specifically for the next generation of travelers?
Well, Route 66 is a unique animal, and it is the American story made manifest. Every aspect of it. For just example, in Route 66 in New Mexico, the pre-1937 alignment is literally on top of the Santa Fe Trail. And in western New Mexico, you have villages along Route 66 like Yakima, where people have lived for 1,000 years. You have Civil War battlefields, stories with Edsel Ford, Emily Post, Pamela Anderson's topless expose on Route 66. There's so many stories woven into this highway. It's pretty amazing. So writing this, I was able to do it with some very, very talented friends of mine, such as Dries Bessels, the founder of the Dutch Route 66 Association. And I wanted to inspire people to discover America on this highway.
What I really love is from the get-go, here's what hooks me in. I'm a big, big fan of ghost stories. I'm a big, big fan of haunted areas. And almost immediately you threw us in the deep end with the ghost towns of Route 66 map and giving us a bit of a history. Because it's a highway whose time is past, and it's a highway who is still a completely necessary component of making America still be America. So you, in kind of writing this book and kind of doing this study, have had to kind of keep your head in two places. One, what the future of Route 66 is, while at the same time constructing a history of it as well. Can you talk about that balance in creating this book?
Well, Route 66 is always been in a state of evolution. The Route 66 of 1960 was different from that of 1930, but there were components of 1930 found in the 1960 Route 66. It's always been a blurring of the line between past, present, and future. And today's a perfect example. We have people preserving 1930s gas stations, 1950s motels, and we have the Historic Electric Vehicle Foundation establishing the world's first electric vehicle museum on Route 66.
So when you're talking about these historic places, I know Jim loves a ghost story, I do too, but I also love kind of like I'm going to call it the left behind energy of places, or the magic, so to speak. So, what are some stops along here that still, I'm going to say, still hold their magic, as opposed to, there's one thing to be history and drive by and say, yes, that's where this and that happened. But are there spots when you pull up to you, Jim, specifically, where you're like, I can still feel what has happened here in the past, if that makes sense?
Oh, it does. Yes, yes, indeed. Anybody who has seen me know that I like pie and cobbler. It shows. 50 plus years of doing this. Uh, there's tremendous places on the road like that. There's the Clanton's Cafe in Veneta, Oklahoma. One family owned since 1929. That's just such an incredible blending of the past and the present.
Mm-hmm.
There's towns like San Jose, New Mexico, a little farming community on the Pecos River. The little adobe chapel has cast its shadow over the Santa Fe Trail, the National Old Trails Road, and Route 66. The chapel was built in about 1825. All along the road, you find this really magical blending of these different chapters in the American story. In some places, the history is just absolutely palpable. And there's new chapters being written, like the quirky Uranus Fudge Company and General Store, where juvenile humor reigns supreme.
By the way, just to give you a sense of the kind of
juvenile and also our
and
humor,
very much in keeping with this show on this particular day, by the way, Jim, just to kind of give people a sense of the irreverence of this book as well. As they're making their way through Joliet, there is Joliet Kicks, and on the top of that building, Lindsay, as you remember from the book, is a picture of Jake and Elwood Blues. Joliet Kicks on 66. That's part of what's interesting, too, to me about it, and you've kind of alluded to this, that there is a style that really kind of gets going, the Americana of about 46 to about 1960, right on the edge of the new frontier. And it seems to me now that as Route 66 finds a new life as a historical and kind of a historical travel place for tourism, a lot of people are gravitating towards that style, that 46 to 1960 style, as they recreate things that look like things as the way they used to look, or at least the memory of the way they used to look. Do you find this encouraging? Does this get you excited about the future of 66?
Yeah, there's so many aspects of Route 66 that are just really exciting. Consider this. This is the most popular highway in America, and it doesn't exist. This highway hasn't officially existed since 1985. It was decertified as a U.S. highway, but yet it has an international fan club. Route 66 associations in a dozen countries. And you find places like the Roadrunner Lodge in Tucumcari, New Mexico. David Brenner has taken a decrepit property and turn it into a destination by creating a near-perfect mid-1960s time capsule with a thin overlay of the modern amenities that we come to expect. And the other thing that's really exciting is the young people that's getting involved with this. You've got to be my age, right about 70, to have any kind of real association with Route 66 when it was Route 66, the main street of America. And yet you're finding people like David Brenner taking on this motel, people like Reese and Sam, his wife Sam. They are dynamic. He's the president of the Oklahoma Route 66 Association and the director, National Trust for Historic Preservation Route 66 program, and they're probably 40-ish. There's a dynamic generation that's taking on restoration of properties, utilization of Route 66 for community development and economic development, and they're setting this highway up for a great centennial celebration and ensuring its relevance, to the highway's bicentennial.
What is the preservation strategy here? Because you talk about the idea of states having kind of chapters of Route 66 preservation. How is that kind of you must have tracked this too as well, and I'm setting up for what I know. Actually, there's some stuff in the book that you kind of dig into as well in this area too. Has there been kind of what is the history of that? Can you kind of tell our listeners this wasn't like a grand overarching view? This was a lot of people deeply concerned about the future of the road, and then finding each other, and then kind of working with local municipalities, state groups, and then finally on the national level. What does this movement look like? You've mentioned there's been an injection of some youth into it, but kind of give us a sense of what these people's investment in Route 66 looks like from a civic kind of engagement.
Well, it's really fascinating. Route 66 is Michael Wallace, he was the voice of the sheriff in the movie Cars. He referred to Route 66 as a linear community. Taking that a step further, Route 66 is almost like America's longest small town. And it is a thriving, vibrant community of people that are passionate. They develop cooperative partnerships. They develop with other communities, with state and tourism offices. They show the potential for blending the past and the present, restoring a vintage gas station as an ice cream parlor, and turning vintage gas pumps into EV charging stations. There's just so many aspects of this, and there's so much diversity. The story of America with its immigrants, how much they've influenced our story, that is really evident in the past, the present, and the future of Route 66. You've got places like the Ariston Cafe, was one family owned until just a year or two ago, established by Greek immigrants and then run by his son. Here's this, and then you have modern immigrants, people from Israel taking on a 1939 motel and restoring it. You have the international travelers that are infusing it with a vibrancy and an enthusiasm. And a lot of these people that are passionate see this as an incredible opportunity to infuse their community with a sense of community, a sense of community purpose. And it's got a infectious enthusiasm when you get around these people. You can't help but get excited about strange things like giant fiberglass rabbits and quirky things like attractions along the road, or ghost towns, or fill in the blanks.
And just so you know, by the way, we have people commenting over in the chat right now, Jim. And Paranormal Pie Man says that I love standing somewhere and imagining it in its heyday, which is kind of what we were talking about earlier from the energy. And then Trucker Bosun wants to know to you, and if you could touch on any Route 66 history involving James Dean.
I don't know of any real connections to James Dean and Route 66. But the highway has an incredible celebrity association. Just here where I live in Kingman, Arizona, as an example, we had major motion pictures filmed here since at least 1918. Harry Carey filmed Ace of the Saddle here. We had Buster Keaton filming Go West. Clark Gable and Carol Lombard were married here in Kingman. We had TAT Airlines established a terminal here in 1928-29. Charles Lindbergh was heavily involved with that, and he and Amelia Earhart were here for the ribbon cutting. Pamela Anderson, before anybody asks, I do not have pictures. Pamela Anderson got in a little trouble here in Kingman for being topless on Route 66 during a photo shoot. Johnny Depp's Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, the final closing scenes in that movie, were filmed at the old World War II Kingman Army Airfield along Route 66. So the celebrity association in history along Route 66 is lengthy and intense. We could even connect this highway directly to people like Louis Chevrolet and Edsel Ford.
There's something meta about the book that I think is part of the design, and you talked about the wonderful collaborators you have, and the idea that roads are not built by one person. They're not even often conceived by one person. Projects this big often have a lot of different collaborators who have to work together to figure out the different terrains and the different navigations and where the best routes are, both for wide open driving, but also a chance to stop and kind of breathe. You mentioned earlier on your collaborators, but can you kind of talk about the process of, in many ways, were you kind of functioning also as a producer in the way a movie does, where you were kind of overseeing other people's works, or maybe like a showrunner in a television show where everybody's got their episode and you've got to make sure that they're all on the same page. Talk about how you made sure that each one of these voices was distinctive while at the same time still playing in the same sandbox of Route 66. You dig?
Yeah. I've written, this is my 23rd book project. This is the first time I did it as a collaborative effort. And not only my pa told me it was better to fill your head with useless knowledge than no knowledge at all. And I've spent quite a bit of time collecting all these obscure things, and I love telling stories. I've been told I can tell stories for hours, even if I'm the only one in the room, and enjoy myself. But
That's all that matters.
so I surround myself with like-minded people. And when the editor approached me and asked me to do this as an anthology and pitch some names of people we can do, I had a great reserve of storytellers and people who were passionate about the American story as well as Route 66 to draw from. And like Cheryl Eicher-Jett, she is an accomplished author, and she's an organizer of the Route 66 Miles of Possibility Conference, one of the founding members. Joe Sonderman was a prolific postcard collector. He's been very generous with all my books on Route 66 as far as contributing illustrations. He's involved deeply with the Missouri Route 66 Association. I mentioned Reese Martin earlier. Greg Hassman is a travel journalist based in Albuquerque. And then Dries Bessels is a good friend of mine. He's very passionate about Route 66, worked as a tour guide for many years because he's fluent in Dutch and English. And he's a founding member of the Dutch Route 66 Association and also an author. So it was great to pull these people together, compare notes, and figure out how best to tell the story of Route 66 from its prehistory through its evolution from highway to icon, and then give a glimpse at what the Renaissance means for the centennial celebrations and looking towards the bicentennial.
We're talking with Jim Hinckley, by the way, and we have somebody on the line, someone special that wants to talk to you. But you can go to JimHinckley'sAmerica.com to find out more. The book Route 66, 100 Years, great Christmas gift, great stocking stuffer if you've got a really big stocking, and it looks great on a coffee table. Look great on the dashboard in a truck, just reminding you what you're seeing along the way. And Jim, joining us on the phone is Dave Nemo, who is our namesake around here, radio legend Dave Nemo, who has spent a lot of time talking to drivers as they've been going down Route 66. Dave Nemo, good morning. Say hi to Jim.
Hey, Jim, good morning. I hate to break in, but I couldn't help myself. First off, I want to say that, yes, the useless stuff that's the interesting stuff, right? I mean, people don't want to know about history. They want to know what went on behind the scenes and things like that, but that's awesome. That's awesome. But look, I was born in Joliet. Joe J., one of our listeners, was also born in Joliet, he told me. And we lived in a ramshackle. I was born in 48, late December. Okay, so I'm a little boy in the 50s. And up to second grade, I lived in Joliet. But real quick, we lived in this old ramshackle house that was, I guess, turned into apartments. And I remember my mom saying that her stepfather took out 10 $1,000 bills and handed them to the guy on the sidewalk in front of the house when she was a little girl, right? Okay, so what I'm getting at is one of the apartments when I was a kid, we lived in one, and Orville and his wife lived in the other, and Orville was a guard at the prison.
Oh, very interesting.
Yeah. Don't know much. I mean, I'm a little boy, right? But we all, of course, because he was a guard at the prison, we were all scared of Orville and everything. And he kind of helped that along, if you know what I mean. But, yeah, it was pretty cool. But I just had to break in and tell you that got some shared history, I guess, there with me being born in the first stop on Route 66, right?
Yeah, outside of Chicago, it's the first major stop there. You got Willowbrook and some of the others, but Joliet's the big one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a shared history. Most everybody, my association with Route 66 dates back to 59. We made our first trip west from Virginia at that time, and my folks used to find great inopportune times to tell people that I was potty trained along the road. And so I've spent most of my life it's kind of odd. You can almost cue the Twilight Zone music. Almost everything in my life since '59 is one way or another tied to this road. So
that is something.
One of the things I really enjoy most about this is people like yourself talking to people, getting people to talk, and listening to their stories. It's so fascinating to hear. There's so many interesting stories that's related to this road.
Yeah, and
and we have the interstate system now. I predate that. I learned how to drive on Highway 61. As a matter of fact, that's sort of my mother road, if you will. But Route 66, to say it's legendary, to say it's part of the fabric of this country is it okay? Take it is the Oregon Trail or Route 66, right? I mean, which one is the most significant? I don't know.
Well, it depends on your vision of America.
Yeah.
By the way, if you tell me if you tell me it's the Oregon Trail, or if you tell me it's Route 66, it's whether you kind of see it as in the lens of the past or in a kind of a go-go energy forward. Even though both are set so far in the past, and then there's the Donner Pass as well too. That's
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Well, Route 66 led directly to the Jetsons. If you really think about the progress, the connecting of the dots that could make that happen, in people's minds.
Aesthetically, it is the case.
Well,
go ahead, Jim.
I was always taught that the wheel bearing is connected to the muffler, just kind of in a roundabout way. But Route 66, like say it in Illinois, for example, it followed originally State Highway 4, which was the first state highway in Illinois that was paved from Chicago to St. Louis. It was the first paved highway, and then, of course, when Route 66 came in, that Illinois segment was the first state. Illinois was the first state to have Route 66 paved border to border because of State Highway 4. But State Highway 4, a lot of it was laid over the old Pontiac Trail from back pre-colonial times, the French and Indian Wars, Jesuit explorers, Native American trade route. So there's just so much history layered into this road.
By the way, we're out of time, guys.
You don't get more
Dave,
than that, do you?
Dave, I know you can go on all morning long, and we all could, by the way. We got our next guest coming up here. Dave Nemo has joined us this morning. Jim Hinckley is here. This book is marvelous. This book is so worth checking out. Jim, Lindsay and I are going to do what we always do to everybody. We're going to get you on the air and make a promise. Promise us you'll come back and talk some more about this.
You just let me know when, and like I said, I can do this for hours and enjoy myself, even if I'm the only one in the room. And so, I love meeting people. I love telling these stories. I love inspiring people to get out and discover America on Route 66 and to just get out, drive.
By the way,
you've come to the right place if you want to tell people to drive. Mr. Jim, you've come to the right place. So JimHinckley'sAmerica.com. I have several questions for you, like, which is the best vintage hotel in your opinion? So we'll have you back for at least for that lightning round. And happy holidays to you, my friend. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Jim.